The CQQC podcast. My name is Gabe, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Bryan and Nate as always, and we're back for another episode of the podcast. And today we are joined by a very special guest. This is in response to our recent video we did of the MLQ jersey ranking, and we were very, very fortunate to have Nick Leimbach, who's the merchandise designer for MLQ, so Major League Quidditch. So AKA, he's the one who designs all of the merch, the jerseys, that we get to see in the beautiful league of MLQ. So, Nick, thanks so much for coming on.
Anytime.
Awesome. So, yeah, we'll hop into it. So, for those that maybe don't know you, Nick, do you want to kind of go through some of the we kind of asked over, like, it's been a while since we had a guest on, but there's a couple of questions that we have just to kind of get to know you a little bit better before we hop into the main discussion today, which is going to be about the sort of what went into the MLQ jersey design of the various jerseys in the league. So, maybe just kind of little brief intro of yourself.
Sure. Yeah, as you said, I'm Nick Leimbach. Originally from San Diego, California. I left San Diego to go to the University of Maryland. That's where I started playing Quidditch myself. I played for a whole semester before I tore my ACL practicing, and that was it for my Quidditch career. So immediately after that, I just kind of took a little bit of a backseat as far as playing. I did a little bit of coaching with the UMD Quidditch team. We did a World Cup with them. I went down there into Florida to Kissimmee once. And, since then, since I've graduated, haven't really played much. But the one semester I did play was a whole lot of fun. And so, I decided to, my senior year, live with the Quidditch team and a couple of the guys. So, I still remain connected.
The sport wasn't ready for you, Nick. It just
no, it was not. Neither were my ligaments.
It's quite unfortunate.
So Nick, I guess it would have been a pretty seamless transition then into MLQ. So how did you were you sort of approached by MLQ co-founders, I guess, or was it just kind of like a transition to it?
There was a project I did my senior year of college where it was just kind of a thing I did on a wild whim, where I designed soccer jerseys for all of the 50 U.S. states and the District of Columbia, and I posted that, and that went wildly viral. I got picked up by ESPN, a whole bunch of newspapers, Yahoo, Sports Illustrated, all were writing pieces about it, and here I am, just I'm doing this in my free time, might as well have fun with it, and I think I may have approached Amanda Dallas, the commissioner of MLQ, in February of 2015, saying, hey, I'm here. I'm still involved in the Quidditch. I may have only played a semester, but if you need jerseys designed, talk to me. We'll make something happen. And that was 6 years ago. I can do math, I assure you. That was 6 years ago, and I have been designing the uniforms for MLQ ever since.
Nice. Yeah, I understand the time thing. I've been saying time's been a flat circle since the beginning of the pandemic. So it's just lose track at this point.
It's just but a construct, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I was gonna say, so was it when you first sort of started designing the jerseys with MLQ? Was it just yourself, or did you have sort of a team, or?
It's only been just me. It's only been just me. I think if we're going to understand the histories of the jerseys in MLQ and, even in the future, we have to go back to, probably 8-10 years ago to really look at where Quidditch was as a sport, where uniforms as a whole were. I mean, we were kind of in a global, more of a conservative, designs. We weren't seeing too many garish things on fields anywhere, no matter the sport. 8-10 years ago, you had teams still appearing at World Cup, with capes, with jerseys that were done in puff paint and hand taped and duct taped. And one of the focuses for early MLQ jerseys was we wanted to streamline them, make them a bit more conservative, not too garish, and aim to simplify things, aim to legitimize Quidditch in a way by going into this, quote, semi-pro league.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense considering like I remember even just like I started 2015, whatever math wise that works out to be. It like we started in our first tournaments. Like I think we got our jerseys the first or second tournament we went to, but like the first one was, hey, do you got a black shirt? Do you want to spray paint it or do you want to duct tape? And back then, it's just like, yeah, like you kind of start out small and like you don't want to resort to those things, but at the early times you do. But when you're playing in like a semi-pro league, hey, let's do it right, and that sounds a lot better than duct tape and random black shirt you buy at Walmart.
You're right. So we did sign that deal with Savage, now VII, in 2015 to produce all of the uniforms for the league. And going from there, it's been just amazing to see what the league has done with growing the teams, growing the players, growing the level of play, growing the rule changes I've seen. I just attended the New York Titans Washington Admirals last week. That was my first Quidditch I've seen in years. So it was good to see how much it's improved. And the jerseys and the uniforms are definitely part of that image.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah, no, coming from like a soccer background before I was in high school, before my university days, like I can definitely appreciate a quality jersey. Big soccer fan, especially in the European soccer as well. So definitely appreciate the trend away from sort of the capes. And one thing I will say too that I kind of noticed, and I don't know if this kind of was similar in your early days of playing, Nick, but like I find the colors are a lot more refined. They're not as I don't know the word, but they weren't as like kind of like just very often like kind of weird colors. Just I find like especially in the MLQ, the jerseys are just like the color combinations are like spot on. It's just very crisp. I think crisp is the best way I can describe it. It's just very classy. So I definitely personally coming from me, I very much appreciate the designs overall. So kind of moving into designs of the jersey. So we did talk about this briefly in our one episode. What goes into a good jersey, or what do we think, or how would you define, or would you define a good jersey? So when you're kind of going through the design process, what goes to your mind when you're designing a jersey? Things you think about: colors, patterns, textures, sort of representation of the city or the team. What are some of the things that go through your mind during that process?
Sure. It's been interesting to see the progress of the jerseys in the 6 years we've been doing this. In 2015, when we started the league, you had 4 or 8 teams in the Northeast, and those were definitely more conservative designs. You had, Washington, Ottawa, New York, Boston, and then I think Rochester, Cleveland, Indy. I'm missing one more.
Detroit?
Team in there. Detroit. That's it. Thank you. And so a lot of those 2015 era jerseys, and I do kind of classify MLQ jerseys into eras. You have the early era, you have 2015-16, you have an aggressive expansion into the West, 17, 18, 19, maybe not so much 19, and then kind of the legitimization of the league and of uniforms and Quidditch as a whole, and you're into today and moving forward. So if you want to talk about those kind of 3 stages of what we're trying to do, that early era of Quidditch jersey, MLQ jersey design was simple patterns. It was simple designs, clean looks. We were trying to really look at a legitimate way for the sport to be accepted by folks in the sport and folks not necessarily, have no idea. I've never seen Quidditch played in real life for the first time. So, you'll see a bunch of those northern and eastern jerseys have really just kind of simple designs, things that would work well in 2015, maybe not so much in 21. I know last episode you talked about how the Ottawa Black Bears, you have solid black and blue hoops, and while that may look good on a rugby shirt, or I think that was mentioned, what does it have to do with Ottawa? What does it have to do with, the team Bears? Who knows? Back then, it was, we need to find a clean look. We need to move forward with it. And the current iteration of the Black Bears jerseys are the second version. I believe those came out in 2017 or 18. I've got all of my files here, all the uniforms from forever. And those were we were trying to modernize what was a pretty conservative jersey from the get-go. And, I think it looks good, but again, it's not for everyone. We do have things that we would like to do far and away. Could the Black Bears need use an upgrade? Sure, absolutely. We might. I'm excited to see what we can do. I actually have draft upon draft upon draft of uniforms that we have never seen light of day. I have alternate away jerseys. I have color schemes that would be kind of cool, but ultimately, what I do is I will design a jersey. I'm given a logo. I'm given a color scheme, and we'll work with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to do is I like to find what's important to the city. I like to find what's kind of the imagery of, the namesake of the team. You've got teams like the League City Legends, a suburb of Houston. The space program is a lot of that city. And so a lot of that imagery, that team, space related. The first iteration of that League City jersey, I believe, had a memorial logo on the kind of jock tag on the lower left of the astronauts, the American astronauts that have been killed in the space race on the Columbia and the Challenger space shuttles. And so that was a choice, but finding things like that to incorporate into the jerseys. I know last week we were talking about the Kansas City Stampede jerseys. So here's a fun fact. Kansas City is known as the City of Fountains, and on the city flag, and you'll see this in the first Kansas City jersey from 2016, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But on the neck right here, it's a drop V, where the shirt is mostly red, the V on the collar is tan, and you'll see the exact same device, the exact same fountain design in the neck, and it pours out and keeps the stripes keep coming down the shirt. So that was the inspiration for that. And those same stripes are on the Kansas City Stampede jersey today. They just, go from the yellow to red gradient. And so finding little things like that to incorporate is always a fun thing to do. More things are easier than others to do. The Admirals are based off U.S. Navy uniforms. You've got the font on the Washington Admirals jerseys is the same font that the U.S. Navy uses to apply as markings to their fighter jets.
Awesome.
So it's the same typeface, and I'm big on that. I'm big on typefaces, so I'll defend that one a bit.
Okay, that's completely fair, and I think that's a lot of things that if we don't know, coming from a northern team, and we really didn't play a lot of the South, we don't get to see those details really up close, and it really, when you say that, it makes a lot of sense, right? The design decisions, City of Fountains. I had no clue about Kansas City. I think barbecue and and the South and and it's something that if people aren't really exposed to it, it's the details that somehow gets missed, but it's so representative of what that city is. And I know even this is, I guess, the next era going forward with the modernization, but Toronto, we have the CN Tower along the sides. And it's great, and it's a little detail that some people are like, oh, I just kind of see a side marking, and it's for everyone in Toronto, we look at that and be like, CN Tower, right away, it's so recognizable. But there's stuff that I guess other people don't really pick up, and there's really a lot of thought there.
You'd be surprised about how much of that is hidden in uniforms across the league. I know that one of you mentioned I'm going to go back to the League City uniforms real quick. The font on the League City uniforms is someone was not a fan of those, but that typeface Futura has been
Brian's a font guy.
Probably
I'm a font
that
guy.
typeface Futura has been used by NASA in the Apollo in the Apollo capsules and all the plaques on Voyager, Mercury, going from the beginning of the space race. That same typeface is on the front and the back of the League City Legends jerseys. And that's the one NASA used everywhere
Mm-hmm.
in all those Apollo capsules.
That's
Again,
crazy.
a small detail that I might like, but that's going to be overseen by 99% of people.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's as the person who probably made that comment as the font person, I do pose this one question to you though. I want justification
Sure.
on the Detroit font. I'm not sure if that that's something that like I don't get the nine big nine small 8.5. What's going on there?
There's no justification. It was a font that matched what we were trying to do.
Completely fair. Completely fair.
Right there. The Detroit one is another one of those that where, in 2015 we had a look for it. The band across the river is meant to, imply that we're on the Detroit River. You've got Detroit, you got Windsor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so trying to emulate that, you kept that band on, and Detroit's one of the ones I'd like to update because you have a cool image there, kind of going steampunk, innovator, machinery. There's much to be done there, and I've done a lot of of work on sketching up and drafting Detroit Innovators jerseys, since then. So that's one that I think may need to be updated, but I don't make that decision. That's all the commissioners. That's all the team managers, and there are more voices that go into the end product. I may do the initial designs, and people may love it, and it gets sent out and printed. People may hate it, and we go back to the drawing board. We take in feedback from the managers. We take in feedback from the commissioners. We have actual constraints with printing the jerseys. They all have to be in Pantone colors.
Yep.
So everything looks similar. Purples and golds are very difficult to replicate in Pantone. So we got a lot of purple teams, so it's a bit of a pain to manage that. And then of course the grand limitation with Quidditch jerseys is that you can't be gold. You can't have gold shorts. You can't have gold shirt because you can't be a snitch. You can't have a team full of snitches running around. And so I'd love to put a gold uniform out there, but that you just simply can't.
It's literally in the rules. Yeah. And it's a good point. Like you said with the Detroit thing too, like with going up with certain steps, and it's like in that second era. I love so much details about like the Innovators jersey, like the gear on the arm is amazing. It's one of the my favorite arm piece things across all the jerseys. And like the idea, like Detroit, the Innovators, you had like Ford starting up in Detroit. It was a major auto zone. So the there's so much ideas and stuff that maybe it doesn't have the chance to get capitalized on, but you could tell the thought is in the little details that do show up, right?
Sure. And that second Innovator jersey is kind of modernizing what was a pretty conservative, pretty straightforward, clean-cut jersey from 6 years ago. That's where uniforms were then. In 2021, not so much. I mean, you see the new Boston Forge jersey, you see the new Charlotte Aviators jersey. Those are busy uniforms. They're completely different, but nowadays, the whole kind of world of sports fashion, we're looking at a lot of 90s era patterns. We're looking at a lot of 80s era, color flashes, design elements, especially in the soccer world. It's all going back to late 80s, early 90s. And so that is the taste of 2021. It wasn't so much back then.
That's fair. I look back, I look at MLB and I look at NBA, and the NBA has a jersey for every day of the week at this point. And they're pulling retro, they're pulling future, they're pulling alternates, they're doing city design, and there's so much to pull from. And it's really cool to see those options pop up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just want to ask a question, quick question here about the on topic of retro. I know you mentioned there was talks about alternates. Would we see, what's the chance that we would see a like a third jersey or something. I know jerseys can be expensive for athletes to buy. So I know that's debatable. But what is there talk of something like that? Would like a team be able to have a primary, secondary, and then a sort of alternate jersey?
Absolutely. There's been many discussions over the years about doing alternate jerseys. Ultimately, it does come down to, is it cost effective to force MLQ players to buy a new uniform once every 2 or 3 years, maybe even two. And for some teams and people, that is just simply not affordable. For a few teams in the early years of MLQ, instead of fully sublimated jerseys or fully sublimated shorts like you would see on the jerseys, they were, normal shorts that had screen printed logos. So again, you're looking at conservative one color designs tops that could not be too intricate, that were slowly beginning to make more convoluted. And there are multiple, jerseys. I know that you all wanted to see a little bit of red in the Ottawa Black Bears, and I'll tell you that there is a design on my computer for a all red and a white and red hooped Ottawa Black Bears jersey. It exists.
Yeah.
Like, would you collaborate with like team executives if they want to like implement that as like a third jersey, or is it more of like a...
Absolutely, whatever they want to do, I'll make happen.
Okay.
And for certain teams, they're completely hands off. It's whatever you give me, fine. Certain teams have been. Boston has always been a team. Love them. Harry Greenhouse is my roommate in college. I love the man. But Boston over the years has had 3 or 4 jerseys now, and 4. Yeah, they've had 4 jerseys now. Including one complete rebrand, and they want what they want, and I respect that. The San Antonio Soldados jersey is more or less a complete copy of a U.S. men's national soccer team jersey from a couple years back. The manager said, "Hey, I like this. Do this for us in San Antonio colors," and I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
Do I like how that may present itself? No, because it's an obvious copy of a U.S. national team jersey, but it's what the manager wanted at that time. It was feasible to reproduce, and so that was what was made. So the managers do have a lot of say in things.
That hurts me slightly because I love that jersey. I love that.
Too.
I love it so much. I think it's absolutely just visually. I remember when Raiders got announced and all the new jerseys got like put out there for the rebrand. We were looking through like we like this. The Monarchs was sharp. The Raiders we really liked, and we saw the Soldados at the end there, and I'm like, that's sick. That's so sick, and it looked great. And I didn't even care like how that really fit in. I was just like, that's a beautiful jersey. I would have no idea that was a quote unquote rip off. Of quote unquote, but yeah. But yeah, like it's just there's little things, I guess, that you really don't have control over, and that makes sense. So how much control of like logo do you have, or other?
None.
You have, so you're completely...
I am not the logo guy. The commissioners in the league have a couple of logo designers that they work pretty regularly with, and they are fantastic. I love everything they've put out for the teams, for the leagues.
Mm-hmm.
There's not been one bad logo that they've done, especially since working with these designers year in and year out. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely love them. I was just wondering if you had any like, hey, I kind of wanted to go in this direction. Do you have any thoughts or what? But
no, I strictly do the uniforms. But now that I'm pulling up my San Antonio files right now. I have a San Antonio. And what's fun about them is they have 4 very wildly distinct colors. They have that cyan, that orange, that kind of like beige, and that neon pink, which I love. I'm a huge pink uniform fan. I know that's divisive, and that's fine, but we're here. But I've got pink shorts for San Antonio. I've got blue shorts for San Antonio. I've got a beige San Antonio jersey with an outline of the Alamo on there.
Ooh.
I've got a whole bunch of stars everywhere. There's a whole bunch of things that are left on the cutting room floor, and I do keep a lot of the designs to because trends might shift, the manager might shift. We never know what'll happen in a few years.
Absolutely. I do have to say I'm with you there with the pink jerseys. Miami Vice jerseys, one of the nicest jerseys in sports, in my opinion. Like, as long as you don't go nuts, it can absolutely blow people away.
Well, San Antonio might have gotten nuts a little bit with this one. Just saying.
Like, speaking of pink jerseys, like when it came to the whole rebrand of the Boston Forge, like what was it like for you having to develop like a new jersey pattern, and all that?
It's easier than you think. When you're given a color scheme, when you're given a logo to work off of, especially something that is as visually appealing and striking as the Forge with that color combination, the first thing I have to do is I have to color match the colors in the logo to match what is physically capable to print.
Yeah.
And again, purples are a absolute pain to color match. You might have, and we went through this a few years ago with the beginning of the Austin Outlaws. They have a bit of a kind of a cyan bluish jersey. They were originally violet because Austin, let me double check this. Austin is like the violet city. Violet.
I have that jersey in my closet somewhere.
The violet crown. Yeah, Austin is the city of the violet crown. There we go. And they had a crown on that jersey, the first jersey, but it didn't print right, and so they kind of had to move into the that cyan blue, and that was a lesson we learned with Savage at the time about how do we regulate this printing process. They go through an RGB, a red, green, blue printing process to sublimate their uniforms, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That one it doesn't, but they move forward. But going back to Boston, that Forge imagery was really cool, and I knew I wanted to do something a bit more flamboyant, a bit more outdated, because Boston has never been a team for tight upper lip uniforms. They always want something that is out there, that is bright. And so that flame is a photograph I took of an actual campfire that I hand traced in Adobe Illustrator. And a lot of the fun bit of that was having to play around with color sliders, play around with Pantone colors to find out, okay, where does the actual gradient of the base of the jersey match, and where's the line? Because it's all as a scale. You got purple up here, pink down here, and some colors might fall down here. But the aim is to get them as closely on that gradient as possible to make a smooth transition, and luckily it worked. But we leave a lot of things unprinted and things undesigned. I do have a few Boston Forge shirts that have may have pink shorts, or I have a pink shirt where it's a purple flame, and I took that to them and I said, hey, I do have this, but it looks much better as pink on purple, because naturally flames are not darker than the surroundings of the surroundings. It would look goofy for it to be a purple flame on a pink shirt, but I think those turned out really well. I love the pink shorts. I think the beige on that is the skin tone of the character and the logo. That I originally had white names and numbers. I know that was discussed. We like white pops and flashes here. It looks cleaner. But I was told, we want that that kind of beige taupe color in the uniform a little bit more. And I said, okay, fine, whatever you'd like.
That's fair.
So that was an input from there. Yeah.
Cool. I guess this is less on me and more on the other two, but I'm very okay with most of the colors. My co-hosts seem to have some problems with certain colors, so maybe they could pose their questions on their grievances with colors to you.
Please are your grievances.
Nate, I think yours is a little more strongly opinionated. What do you got?
So for like Indy with their orange jersey, and then I guess
you're not a fan of orange. That's right.
Yeah, I don't like orange. So like for Indy's jersey, for example, at least if this is like the first or second rendition, it's mainly an orange jersey with like the rays of the sun in like a lighter shade of orange. What led you to have like an orange as the base of a jersey? Because personally for me, I don't like orange as jerseys, or like just the color orange in general on clothing. So like
orange wasn't my call, unfortunately. That was a they wanted to do an orange team. I said, great, love it, let's do orange. Again, Indy, that is the current Indy jersey is the second iteration of that Indy uniform. The previous one from 2015 looked a little bit similar than that, but was also pretty understated, even though it did have that kind of yellow sunbeam emanating from the logo and going out.
Mm-hmm.
This is an update of a pretty conservative jersey. Even though it's orange and yellow, there could be much more. It could be flames. It could be, who knows. The sleeve device on Indy, that is the star, and those stripes are pulled from the flag of Indianapolis, which people in Indy are huge on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me why, but that's just the case. They love that star, they love that circle, and they love the spokes coming from that star. So we incorporated that a little bit. We kind of put a little bit of an edge into it, but again, that's a jersey from 2018, and things are different now.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you have like a file on like some like current concept jerseys for that jersey, like for a new model of that jersey?
I've got my iPad's full of sketches. I'll say that, and that's what I tend to do. Is I have a blank T-shirt template, and I'll go in with my little pencil, and I'll just kind of sketch ideas in Adobe Draw or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And it talks to Photoshop and Illustrator and all that. So if I really like something, I can just send it away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't a fan of the grays. But again, I think it kind of coincides with what you said about like the whites. I think it was more just an opinion for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some jerseys where I thought that a little bit of white instead of a gray would have made it pop a little bit more. But for me, my question though, it more so relates to in the South. And again, this is partly because I'm not fully aware of the culture there, but in New Orleans with the New Orleans curse with the
Necktie.
The necktie. So originally, when I had done my rankings, I had really, I thought it was unique. I thought it was cool, but once Nate had said the necktie, I couldn't unsee it. So
yeah, neither could I.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all good.
Oh, man. But all jokes aside, could you maybe just clarify what the original sort of design for that one was?
So let me go back. That New Orleans shirt goes back to 2017. There was one from 2016 that was. It was purple, but it had diamonds on it that kind of had a gradient and the diamonds. This one we kind of went with like a Harlequin Argyle concept on the shirt, and I'm looking at it now. Yeah, the Harlequin necktie, and that typeface and for the numbers in the names is pulled from that logo. So that's that. They went with a purple, yellow, green color scheme, which I like. I think the whole Mardi Gras look. It's bold. It's fun. It is something that is really cool. And when you look at the New Orleans curse, that's the New Orleans curse, bar none. That is one team that you will never forget looking at. But with the necktie, that was the necktie was, they did want something, and I gave them an all Harlequin jersey, just diamonds and colors and everything everywhere, and they said no, let's not do this. That's way too much for right now. And I'm like, fine, this is your team. We're gonna go with what you want, and we toned it down, gave them more purple. On the back of that uniform, that same necktie stripe runs up to the bottom of the numbers, so it does kind of continue on back. I really wanted to do gold shorts. Purple and gold as a combination is just untouched, but can't, which really, really is unfortunate. And we went with green shorts.
Absolutely. The comment with like the Mardi Gras color scheme, I love it. Like it screams New Orleans. Like I really want to go there in the future when things open back up and I have time and whatnot. But like, yeah, I could see the like design constraints there. Just like, I have this giant thing. How the heck do I work this in? Like it's
yeah. New Orleans is a good one. It may not be one of my favorites though, and that's okay.
Yeah,
to each their own.
Absolutely.
So I think to kind of wrap up the podcast, I think what we really would like to be able to do is maybe kind of go through very briefly, just kind of like highlighting maybe one or two points from the various other jerseys. I know we've kind of touched on some of them, so maybe we won't go through all of them, but I guess we'll kind of break down by division. So starting in the North, I know we talked a little bit about Toronto, but maybe is there anything in particular that kind of maybe gets missed or overlooked from the Toronto jersey to start?
Pulling up in Toronto, no, you hit most of it in the last podcast. You have the CN Tower going up the side, which I couldn't go without. I love that design aspect. I think it's super fun. You've got it in the logo there. That 19 series of jersey too. You had the alternate logo at the side. You had the third logo at the side, I should say.
Yeah.
You did the second logo on the shorts.
Yeah.
All those 19 shorts had a pattern on the waistband, and it alternates with, I'm looking at it now, a little raccoon paw print in the maple leaf, which I love.
Great.
I love those shorts.
Great.
Fantastic. In 2019, a lot of design trends and uniforms loved sublimated patterns. You saw Chelsea FC in England had the little line sublimated into their jerseys in a pattern, and that was that took off. I think that was a Nike shirt. But I said, "Hey, do you want this?" And they said, "No, we don't want the claw and the maple leaf." I said, "That's fine," but we did have that pattern going across. One thing was that was the first year of Minneapolis too. I'll get on Minneapolis in a second because that's a whole different story. But Toronto, you've got red on black. I love red jerseys, bar none. Clean look. Black goes with everything. If I were to go about this again, we went with a kind of a whimsical typeface because raccoons are a little whimsical. They're fun little critters. Change it up. Let's see what we can do. I love the stripes. I'd like to continue doing the stripes. The CN Tower, we'll see how we incorporate that.
And the stripes are kind of like claw marks almost as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thinking.
Yeah.
And I did those by hand as well, yeah.
Nice.
A lot of these I did by hand, actually.
Very impressive. Let's just maybe you want to touch on many that you in the North as well.
So Minneapolis is an interesting history because they were originally a community team, the Voyageurs, that were due to be taken in by MLQ, and for reasons I will not get into, we could not get the rights to use the Voyageurs. There was a jersey drafted, there was a logo drafted, and I will tell you, it looked good. Greens, kind of beiges, dark forest greens, and a kind of like canoe pattern. I'm looking at it now. It has a dark green Minnesota Voyageurs to Minneapolis. Minneapolis Voyageurs jersey. A nice forest green with canoe paddles in a pattern going across. So, I told you how those sublimated patterns were hot in 2019. And you have map details. You have kind of X marks a spot right here. But that all got scrapped, and they became the Monarchs pretty quickly after that. And that Monarch jersey was a bit quick to come up with. I think I had maybe a couple days to go from beginning to end on that Monarch jersey. And I know you like that wing design.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my absolute least favorite jerseys on the tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know that's a hot statement too, but one thing that I have learned from doing this for so long now is that, white does not play pretty regularly with certain things. I have stopped designing white shorts for many reasons. White jerseys do look good, but they do invite risk, and so you kind of have to mitigate that by putting a pattern on. The Monarch wing was cool. I like it. I don't know if I would go with it again. Mm-hmm. I believe that Monarch's typeface is pulled from the other one.
The Monarch sleeve is also a thing as well with you also have that similar sleeve.
Mm-hmm. That was I don't like that because it's such a pain to design. Because I did all that. I think I drew that by hand on my iPad and then vectorized it. So maybe I'm just a little bit scarred from that still 2 years later.
It's fair. I do I think we had all agreed that we're pretty much big enough fans of white, but I think one thing is, you kind of pointed out, there is risks in it, and we do play on nice turf at championships and some fields, but a lot of times we don't. So you go into with a white jersey and you get grass stains. That's a it's a tough kind of look to it, right? Like it doesn't go out very easily, and we can't just buy a new jersey for most teams, most players. So yeah, totally makes sense with that sense or that stuff.
For a co-ed league too, I'm not going to put females in especially white shorts and white jerseys.
That is a very good point.
We do have, and I do the U.S. national team jerseys too.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an all-white set for the U.S., and I think, we're going to pivot away from especially white shorts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
Because again, going through the North here, we did touch on Indy, a little bit on Detroit. Cleveland, yeah, that's another one we did talk about a little bit in the episode. And I believe I can't remember where it was, but it wasn't one of our favorites. But do you want to maybe touch a little bit on the inspiration and sort of what went into that?
See, Cleveland is one of my absolute favorites. Bar none, I love a sash. I think sashes look good. They are clean. They're attractive. But here we are. You said you don't like grays, and that's fine. Yeah. The Cleveland, the 2015, the original Cleveland jersey was a series of 4 stripes. I believe it was 4 going across like that in that sash. The purple on the silverish gray, and that was their look. It was a sash. Ottawa's got the hoops. New York's got that deep chevron V. Yep. Cleveland's got the sash. We were doing simple patterns that had been done by teams for decades.
Yep.
We wanted the sash. And the kind of, riff on that, was, we had 4 stripes on the original jersey, but 6 stripes on the original jersey because there are 6 strings on a guitar.
Yeah.
That's what we were going off of. Again, that 2018 Cleveland shirt is the kind of edginess, updatingness, the updating of a old, very tight conservative jersey.
Absolutely. And I totally like when I look at the Cleveland jersey, I do get the strings across as it's Cleveland Hall of Fame rock and roll and the inspiration.
In 2021, there's more to be done there.
Yeah, that's fair, right?
I still love that sash look. I've got a Cleveland jersey with my name on it upstairs. I think just I love it.
I think our thoughts on Cleveland wasn't necessarily that it's a bad jersey. It's a little bit older, and
there's much more to be done.
There's much more to be done, and there's a world of possibilities with it. And I think the ideas out there are totally like it. I think anything that you designed would turn out great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What else we got up there
for the North, or do you want to move into?
I think we talked Indy and Detroit already. Yeah. That's all 5.
Okay, so then we'll move into the East End. We did touch a little bit about Boston. I think that was probably one of our favorites. I would say. I personally even like the. I don't know. Maybe touch a little bit on this, but was the update just for update's sake, or did they? I know you had said the managers had say in. Sort of design updates. I personally, I thought the Knight Riders were awesome. As much as I didn't like playing against them, I thought their jerseys were great. But
I was just gonna say, obviously, the rebrand also came with like other controversies with logo and stuff. But like I guess beyond that, like a lot of the color, the purple color, I guess carried through that rebrand. I guess.
Sure, there were reasons that needed to take place for that rebrand. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we went through that.
Absolutely.
We progressed as as a people. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we did that. So that was dropped, and we went to the Boston Forge. One of the things I actually did with the Forge early on is, a fashion kind of trend that's hot right now is kind of like the bleached on denim tie-dye look, the kind of wash thing. And so I've got a all pink with a tie-dye, bleach pattern on it for Boston. And they said, absolutely not. We don't want that. And you know what? That's fine. But, all I can say is, hey, I've got this. Do we want to run with this or move on? Yeah. And we moved on. And I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Because I love Boston. I think that's a great jersey.
Absolutely. I guess onto another team up Northeast. Beyond the white jersey, I guess, the Rochester. We talked about what you said before about white jerseys. Totally get it. Any other thoughts, things point out about Rochester's jersey?
Rochester. And going back on it right now, Rochester, I don't believe is an original team. They had the first jersey that had the tree down the sides, and then no, it was an all green jersey. It was an all green jersey in 2015.
Ooh, I do.
That I then, everyone said they're the whiteout. Why aren't they white? And I said, okay, well, we're gonna go all white for the next iteration. And this is actually the third.
Yes.
This is the third Rochester whiteout uniform, and I'm trying to find it. Where is it?
I do remember this was
There
the
we go.
third one. I don't remember what the first one looks like at all. I've seen the second one a fair bit, but I don't think I've ever seen the first one.
First one, it looked just like the second one, just the colors were completely inverted.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. Rochester, I love this uniform completely. I love the snow. I love the trees. I love all of what we're trying to do here. With the 2019, again, what was hot was sublimated patterns. We threw the snow on there. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Who knows what we do in the future with the whiteout, but I think this is, one of my absolute favorites. We'll probably go to, green shorts because they got white shorts now. But I love the whiteout look. I love the deer. Fear the deer, baby.
Yeah. I do love, I think what you pointed out there with the, it's the perfect level of, intricate, but not too far. It pushes that line just to that point, and then it's yep, perfectly stopped there. Yeah. New York.
So New York, that is a 2017 shirt, if I recall. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So, that was in 2015. You had the deep chevron V, basically, with Amanda Dallas at the helm. That was the New York Warriors, the MLQ edition, because they had that white shirt with the blue chevron on it, and we updated it. We went Warriors MLQ, but the Titans, of course.
Yeah.
And so from that original relatively tame jersey, we went a little bit more. We did the kind of, as you caught last time around, the subway stop kind of design in that chevron with those little skips. You picked up right on it. That was really cool. They've got those three colors again, that we may want to do brighter, bolder colors, but we are limited by the Pantones that we have to print to, and the artwork that we can do. So I actually saw Dallas, was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago? And I said, it might be time for a Titans upgrade. These are a little long in the tooth. They're 4 years old now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
That makes a lot of sense because I know enough about US Quidditch. And I do Warriors also have the collar on their jerseys, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that uniform, that's a rugby uniform that is, built for them and by a U.S. rugby company, and the material of that is much stronger than anything that you'd see in MLQ, perhaps anything that you'd see elsewhere, because it's designed to get grabbed, horse collared, whatever have you, and it's designed to take a beating, but at the cost of it being particularly heavy and not particularly breathable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think the last one was personal favorite, and I did take back my original thoughts on this jersey from the original episode, but the Charlotte Aviators. Do you want to touch a little bit on that design?
Is that a northern team? I can touch on that all.
Eastern.
We'll just cover the whole coast.
Yeah.
The second I saw the Aviators, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. The whole imagery of flight, you can go. There's so much you can do there, and I'm a bit of a flight fan myself, so I ran with it. Again, this is one time after another that we were hampered by the inability to do gold, because I would love a gold short on this one. I produced a few different designs for this team. We ended up going with the blue shorts, which I like. I think they look really good on the field. But of course, what we're looking at with the number one feature here is that kind of that sectional map that's published by the US FAA. That is public record. That is how every aviator flies. They look at those maps. They have to know those maps inside and out. And so what I had to do was I had to download that map from the FAA, our flight our flight governing body here in America, and vectorize it, monochrome it, and that, I think it might have been 150 megabytes on my computer when all was said and done. It was just a monstrous file, and my computer sounded like it was about to launch into space. And I've got a pretty decent computer too, but it did not want to handle that. But I love that pattern. I love how it looks. I love the typeface. I like the inline kind of look. Those stripes that you see down the left chest, those are the same stripes that you see in the U.S. Navy Blue Angels demonstration team. They have that same two-stripe look going down their entire uniform, and so I wanted to kind of echo off that motif a little bit. And I'm from San Diego originally. It's a big U.S. Navy town. I want to kind of pay homage to something I like, and I fed that to them, and they absolutely loved it.
I just thought of this now, and maybe there was an intent, and maybe it's not perfect comparison, but I also just thought that like the line across also kind of looks like a runway.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know I don't know why I just thought of that now as you're saying, and I was like, huh.
I like it.
I think it works more than you think.
I like it quite a bit.
But yeah, I love that jersey, and it's absolutely one of my favorites.
I'm so glad that came out.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's kind of it for the East, and I think
Washington.
Oh yes, Washington. Yeah, I know you had mentioned a little bit about the Washington jersey, but maybe touch a little more on that one.
Sure. So that's again, a bit of a modernization of an old classic there. That Admirals shirt has been around for 4 years as well, but with the Admirals, you're kind of narrowed into a bit of a more traditional kind of clean-cut base as it is, because military motif just intrinsically is kind of clean-cut. And so with this one, you've got the stripes on the sides, you've got the stars on the shoulders. Those are all U.S. military, motifs, with the stripes on the side with the star pointing down. That is equivalent to, U.S. Navy admirals have those on their sleeves right here on their cuffs, and they have those four stars on their shoulders, on their shoulder boards. That's pulled right from military look. As I mentioned, that typeface that we use is applied to U.S. Navy fighter jets. It's the same exact one. The 2015 jersey had a different one that you put on the aircraft carriers and all the on the boats and such. And so modernizing that, making it look clean. You can't mess up blue and gold too much.
Yeah. Cool, awesome. So yeah, then I think we'll kind of move into the South then, Nick, to wrap up. So we did touch a little bit on Kansas City, but the one that we really debated was Austin. Really, really interesting design. Do you want to touch a little bit on those jerseys?
Yeah, let me pull up Austin here and take a look at that. Austin was part of our initial kind of outreach into the South. That's the second Austin jersey they had. What they originally wanted to do, if I recall correctly, was they liked the USA Soccer, the bomb pop jersey, which was a blue jersey with a red and white kind of shoulder look to it, and they loved that. They wanted to echo that for in the first Austin uniform. And so that's pretty much what we did. Just again, the league was still in its infancy, so we didn't go too much, but that's where we were. The 19, or maybe it was 18. I'm looking at it now. 2018 Austin uniform. You still have that shoulder look where it's that black. But then we do add the kind of barbed wire stripes going down the front and the back and along that waistband on the short there. So I wouldn't say we're coming from a more trim, tidied up jersey, but again, we're modernizing it. We're making it look a bit more edgy for the trends of 2019, while still paying homage to that initial look they had.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it stands out well. We kind of talked about it, I think in our episode, if not just a thought, you had mentioned, when you guys started, you had 8 teams roughly between the East and the North. And at that time, I know in Canada we kind of have the problem of all the teams have black jerseys. Everyone has a black jersey, and it's like, okay, well, how do I tell these two teams apart? And having that whole range of colors, really, you have a way to distinguish teams without really knowing who's who right at the beginning until you take a closer look and you find all these details.
Right. And, it's funny that you mentioned that we had, that was our expansion phase. We did have a Western division for 2 years where we had a whole slate of Western teams. Los Angeles, Salt Lake City. The Salt Lake City Hive are some of my favorite uniforms I've ever done. Those looked so good, and I'm bummed we couldn't do those again.
San Francisco,
and Boise. The Boise Grays, problematic for many reasons.
Yep.
But again, some of the favorite uniforms I've ever seen were the Boise Grays shirts. I've got a Boise shirt in my upstairs in my closet. I don't know if I could pull that one out and be taken seriously at a Quidditch game.
Gabe or Nate, one of you I think has the San Francisco jersey.
Yeah, the San Fran of it.
Yeah.
Which San Francisco jersey do y'all have?
Which one?
Which one of those? I think there's two San Fran jerseys.
I think it'd be the later one because I traded it off at the 2018 championships.
Okay.
So it's the green and yellow look to it. I can probably pull it up.
The one with kind of like the Greek motif across the front.
Yeah, I can quickly pull it out right here. Actually.
With the stripe. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. That's a good look. A team that could have benefited from yellow shorts but couldn't. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I do understand why we had the collapse of the Western Division and there was a Phoenix team there too, which I like those Phoenix
Soul.
Uniforms. The Phoenix Soul. There you go. That's a deep dive right there. I think they played 1 year in 2016, and that was a look. And unfortunately they folded. They actually moved to Boise.
Yeah.
They became the Grays.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oof.
So.
Yeah.
That's a collector's item right there.
Absolutely.
And then what about? I know we touched a little bit, but League City. One of my favorite jerseys. I love the space sort of motif. But do you want to touch on that one as well?
I know I'm all about it. I love that one too. League City. We wanted to do the space motif. Those stars. I'm trying to forget. I'm not trying to forget. I already have forgotten. I'm trying to remember what that's a certain constellation at the chest right there on the front that I had to replicate in that uniform. But I love the white to blue fade. I think it's reminiscent of the sky. Talking about the U.S. space program, we got red, white, and blue, and that's a deep red, white, and blue too. There's no light colors in there. That is a firm red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
In the first League City uniform, we did see it was that kind of like triangle blast off look.
Ooh.
That's the technical term for it. There were a couple of ones I did, but it had that chevron going wide from the base, kind of up towards, narrowing up towards the neck. That eventually, stopped at the neck. You had the Space Shuttle memorial patch at the side. And from there, I think the League City folks said, we don't want this anymore. This is
good.
We've got a new logo. Let's tidy it up. And we went with that gradient blue with the stars in the front with the Futura. And I think that's one of my absolute favorite looks. You may not know, where they're from, because red, white, and blue is obviously quite common. But I think that's a dynamite uniform.
I have a quick question, and I guess maybe it doesn't speak to your jersey expertise, but maybe your ideas of where this is from. So for a long time when I started MLQ and I played against them at championships, I was like, League City, okay, cool, somewhere in Texas. I know it hosted different championships and different big tournaments. Why do you know any reason why it was distinguished as League City instead of Houston? Instead of Houston, maybe?
I believe the city of League City, like the government, I want to say one of the players, if not the manager, worked for the league or worked for the city, and they were, offered. I think I might have been use of the fields or something like that, or and the city ended up bidding for championships. They
Yeah.
actually bought into the whole. They were all in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think that they were always going to be League City because they were, that's where they were from. This actual government was supporting that team quite a bit, and they remain there to this day. That's something I don't know too much about, but
yeah, that
okay.
I'll totally understand. Yeah, that's why I was just like, when I heard League City, I was like, I have no clue where League City is, and I looked up League City and scroll back. I'm like, that's Houston. That's right by Houston, but it's just a separate suburb of the city, and it's like, okay, cool. Like
I had to Google it too for sure. I
Yeah.
don't know. I wouldn't have pointed out League City on a map.
but
I don't
but
know if
yeah, but like branding wise, with like League City Legends, it adds up name wise, the branding, the jersey, it all feeds in, and everyone kind of knows like Houston, we have a problem. Which
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
love
sure
that.
is a misnomer of something. There was something I saw something recently that it's not actually that statement, but that's something else. Look it up yourself, people.
Yeah, it's not Houston. We have a problem. It's something else. You're right.
Yeah, or it's Houston. We had a problem. I think there was something. I don't know.
That's a trivia question for me.
Yep,
Yeah, we've had a problem.
we've had a problem. Yeah. So who else do we got? We touched on Austin. We touched on League City. New Orleans. We went into earlier, and Kansas City. Any other kind of details beyond the City of Fountains bit?
Pull them up. Yeah, Kansas City. That was a one. I'm trying to remember when we did that. Of course, I'm just looking at my computer now. Kansas City. That was 2018. Yeah, we went with more of that rodeo theme. We went with I'm looking at that's quite a logo I'm looking at now. I never really looked at the intricacy of it. That was another thing where they wanted a bit of a simpler jersey. I kept those fountain lines in there because I think the stripes look good.
That's
the great, and actually on that 2018 uniform, you can still see that original fountain logo at the side of it,
mm-hmm.
and so that does remain as kind of a nod back to that original shirt. But another gold team where you have to do red shorts, and sometimes red on red doesn't look, it looks too much, and so we wanted to cut it a little bit with the yellow gold gradient.
Absolutely.
Who knows where the Stampede go, in the future?
Yeah,
I'd like to see. I'll be the one doing it, so of course I'm saying it.
So I think to wrap up here, Nick. Normally we've been trying a new segment on our podcast. It's from one of the podcasts we listen to up here in Canada. It's the Steve Dangle podcast. I don't know if you've heard of Steve Dangle, but he's a huge Leafs fan. And in their podcast, they have a segment called the Who Wore the Crown segment. We've kind of rebranded it as Who Wore the Toque segment. So this will kind of be a combination of sort of this segment and also a question we wanted to ask you to wrap up, which was, I know you've kind of alluded to it throughout the podcast, but if you had to pick maybe one or two of your favorite jerseys, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
That's all right. I'll put the toque on someone.
Yeah, who would you give your toque to, like a jersey or a team to?
I mean, I'll give the toque to League City. Honestly, I think that's my favorite one. I've always loved Space. I think we knocked out the park with that one. The gradient.
Mm-hmm.
We can give some honorable mentions to. I can't give one to Boise. We can't do that. I love the Charlotte Aviators. I think that's we can give an alternate toque to them, for sure. Yeah. And then perhaps we can hand out one more alternate toque. Let's hand one to Rochester.
That's fair. That's fair.
Awesome. Yeah. So Nick, we just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure having you on and learning all behind the scenes, what goes into your design. For just kind of interacting with us based on our sort of video. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you and some other MLQ execs on sometime down the road because like I said, it's been a pleasure to have you on. So
just let me know.
Yeah. Thank you so much. To wrap up here, just going to quickly plug our socials. So it's CQQC_podcast. Full of our updates on our Instagram. Nate has us there. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everyone in the next episode. Thanks.
Perfect.